You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina, and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 6 of Fullmetal Alchemist. So Steven, what do you think?
So we're seeing the brothers go through their exam. They finally get to the State Department. That's what we're just going to call it, because I still feel like I've missed whatever they're calling it officially. But they are handed off, it seems, to a guy who is a professor. Is like for some reason I missed his name. They never, or at least I never heard it.
They did say his name. Oh my God. What was it?
Because I remember his daughter's name, Nina. They said her name
Nina.
100 times over, but for some reason I never heard them say, "Hey, Professor, fill in the blank." So is he a professor? Am I?
Tucker is
Tucker,
the father. Well, that's the last name.
Okay. But I just, he seemed like a professor versus everyone else. He has like major and things like that. And of course he wasn't wearing like uniform like everyone else.
Yeah.
And we're also informed about Hughes. He's an investigator.
Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of helps me understand what his job is. Cause in the last episode I was saying that he was like tech guy or whatever, but investigator. So now I've got an understanding of that character. Got a wife who was pregnant.
Yes.
And that seemed to be a pretty big focal point in this episode for a moment, which seemed kind of out of the blue, but I kind of feel like they were, I don't know, it turned it into a nice comedy for a bit, you know, where they're having to deal with that and don't know what to do, and they're all panicking when she goes into labor. So that was kind of fun. And the professor, I guess, is trying to prepare them for the state exam that they have to take.
Yes.
And trying to help them. And they don't really go into great detail as to what he's trying to teach them. You just kind of understand that they're there to understand. Now, am I also to understand that their time here took quite a while? Because I also noticed at the end of the episode, they show their ages again. And I'm almost positive that when we left, because we were debating on how old Al was in the last episode.
Yeah.
And I'm almost positive now that I was thinking about it. It was 11 and 10 when we were last, when they put their age up. And now at the end it said 12 and 11. So we're saying a year has passed at this point.
I mean, Edward did celebrate his birthday.
Right. And we weren't really, we hadn't seen like his birthday prior to that, had we?
No.
Okay. So were they here? I wouldn't say an entire year, but
I wouldn't say an entire year, but at least several months, I would say.
Because they did kind of go through it fairly fast. And I was curious if it was just days or in weeks, and just the speed of it felt a little rushed. But obviously, if it's not necessary to really see how they're going through the motions and preparing, I mean, obviously we don't need to see it, so it's unnecessary. So I'll forgive it because, again, we already know, you know, several years from now.
Yeah.
Even because I think, what did we say when we started? They were 15 and 14. So okay, so even at this point, we still got 4 more years to catch up on.
Yeah.
Before we get to where they were. So sticking or really fleshing all that out. This is a trope that I guarantee you any other TV show or ones that are just trying to stretch stuff out, they would have stayed here for a long time and turned so many episodes into just like, well, we're still studying, but what's happening this week? And they got through it, and I appreciated that, because if it's unnecessary to the plot, if it doesn't drive anything, then just get through it. We know that he passes clearly.
Yeah.
But they threw a curveball at me.
Mm-hmm.
So Al never made it in.
No.
And why was, if you can answer this without spoiling anything, why was Colonel Mustang surprised he passed the test?
Basically because he hasn't gotten to see what Al's alchemy is or how well he is, but Edward has always kind of been the prodigy. Even when they were little and showing like the trinkets to their mom and stuff like that, it was always Edward's was better and Al's was always like a step behind. So I think it's just that whole Edward's the one who performed not only the human, well, him and his brother performed the transmutation on the mom, but Edward is the one who sealed Al's soul into that armor.
Right.
So at the end of the day, Edward is the one that he wants.
But the fact that they are brothers, the fact that they have been in tandem with each other, I feel like you would want both, because they seem like you could have two great alchemists.
But
for everything that Ed knows, Al should know.
Yes, but Edward can always say he lost his arm and leg in a bad accident. You can't explain there not being a body inside of the suit of armor for Al.
Okay, so that's
yes,
the main
that's why
reason.
Mustang said you can't become a state alchemist without them finding out about your past. If they find out about the past, that's like a grave sin. Like, you will go to prison, if not be executed. Like, you committed a taboo.
All right, okay. So another thing they touched on too is we went back to something that we were introduced in episode 2, I believe, the fact that Ed can do alchemy without the circle.
Yes.
And they haven't quite explained why yet, but this was the first instance in which we're to understand that he was aware of it, because he was able to heat the water for the pregnant woman who, Gracie, I remember her name too. I can't even remember the professor, but I remember her. So he did that, and then obviously he saved the guys at the end. Mm-hmm. And so the state sees nothing odd about that. They're actually impressed by this. So
yes, but if I'm not mistaken, that also boils down to the fact that he's Hohenheim's son.
Okay, so there's a lot going on with his ability. I'm assuming that not everyone can do this.
No.
Okay, and
even Mustang, his glove is what has his transmutation circle on it. So unless he has that glove, he can't do shit.
See, and that's what I kind of had surmised about Edward early on, is that's what he had. Like, he had one on his hand or something like that, like always had one handy. So he's doing it free of any kind of restraints.
Yes. No, it is a special ability that only certain people who experienced a certain thing are able to do. He's not the only one who can do it, but he is one in like a handful of people who are able to.
So would it be fair to say that the state probably picked him not just because of his heroics, but the fact that he can do that? You know, at the end of the day, if he hadn't saved those two other people, or that one guy from being stupid and that other guy from just sitting there, if he'd have done it without the circle and just did it.
You mean if he had done it with the circle?
No, like if he had done his, whatever his test was, without a circle, and maybe he just, I know that's, he didn't do, like, he saved those people without the circle.
Yes.
Right. But what I'm saying is that if he had performed some transmutation without the circle on his own, just out of the blue, just said, here's a tree, boom, and did it without the circle, would you say that they would have probably picked him just based on that, even if it was far worse than anything that anybody else had created? Like, he'd have just created some little trinket and been like, well, I did that without a circle, so what do you think?
I don't know if it would have been something that small, if they would have been like, they might have been intrigued at the fact that he performed it without a circle, but I feel like if it was something small, they probably wouldn't have paid it any mind. But I feel like it really does come down to the fact that he's able to perform it without a transmutation circle, on top of being able to perform very large transmutations without it draining him.
Yeah, that's the other thing I noticed too, because we haven't seen that either. Because we saw someone perform a transmutation and they looked weakened by it, like it took everything out of them, and all they did was create some big tall
tower,
and that's it. And he looked like he was about to die. So that, I guess that was my curiosity. Was it the fact of his heroics on top of his ability, or would it have just been his ability alone, and they would have been like, oh, well, hands down, we got it?
I honestly think it's not even about the heroics. It's just about the fact that he performed it without a circle, and he made something massively grand.
Mm-hmm. So I want to know what kind of people we're dealing with here, because they kind of seem like they could have been the type of people who would have just been like, well, they need this. He's more powerful, so the hell with him and whatnot. And they're still getting that. It's just he did perform miraculous feats and proved his worth. So
yeah, anybody outside of Colonel Mustang's little group, don't trust.
Okay. And I noticed
they're all military in the worst possible sense.
well, even talking about that from a military perspective, the main general who was giving out the exam, yet another.
Oh, he's not a general.
He's not. He wasn't?
No.
Oh.
The man with the mustache and the eye patch? Yeah. Mm-mm.
Okay, well.
He's the head of the military.
So wouldn't that be a general?
His name is Bradley, but they do not call him general. He is referred to as King Bradley.
Okay, well, King Bradley.
There's also another name that they call him, but I don't think that's until the movie.
Okay, well, anyway, King Bradley. We got yet another schmuck with an eye patch.
Oh, there's a reason.
Bald didn't have an eye. Now this guy doesn't have an eye. And just motherfuckers around here with no eyes and shit and their eye patches.
Well, King Bradley has an eye. There's just a reason he covers it.
Okay. See, you keep spoiling little things for me, so I find these things out.
You'll find out eventually.
Okay. So would it be accurate in saying that a lot of the people we met in this episode we'll see again?
Yes.
And especially the little girl, because she seemed like she was going to be like their little sister in essence, because big brother and little big brother.
Yes, you will see Nina again.
Okay. Because they seemed to take a liking to her, and she seemed, and I guess that's what I was trying to attach, because of the other little girl that we saw, and she seemed to, the big brother thing. So it seemed like that was kind of an odd thing to kind of refer to each other as. And then now she's doing that, but it doesn't seem like she's calling them big brother as in that's what she thinks they are. It's almost like you're the big brother and you're the little big brother. You know? So like that's how she knows them, how she refers to them, not anything endearing. Or at least that's the way I kind of took it.
I mean, she does. I mean, their relationship with Nina is a sibling relationship. Like they grow very, very close to her.
And that's understandable. Okay. Because she is cute, and her little dog. I didn't catch the dog's
Her
name.
little dog is not little, but yes, he is adorable too.
Well, he looked little in comparison to
he's
some
like
other characters.
Like a Great Pyrenees or some shit. Like he's a big ass fucking dog.
Trying to think if there were any other details that I'm forgetting that I wanted to discuss. No, I can't think of anything. I mean, I guess the Hughes having a wife and having all that stuff kind of thrown into the mix, like I said, was a nice comedic element, but it also seemed kind of, in some ways, could seem out of place, but I feel like that's going to, again, pay off later on.
Well, I mean, you see a lot of Hughes, you see, quite a bit of Gracia, but you also kind of get to see their daughter grow. But, I mean, they're going to be throughout the anime. You see their stories play out.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else to say. He passed his exam. He's a state alchemist now, and they're on their way, I guess.
I know. I'm so excited. And everybody, I'm sure, is waiting for a specific episode, and I myself have been waiting for it. And we're getting closer with each passing one.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, there's 51 episodes. So.
Oh, no, I know. No, this happened. There's several episodes that I cannot wait for you to see because they strike people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are episodes that are ingrained into every fan of Fullmetal Alchemist. You know these fucking episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see a meme about this episode and it has you fucking crying. Like, these episodes get you.
Okay, well, don't tell me what
I know. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I don't even remember what episodes technically they are. I just remember what happens in each of them.
Fair enough.
Well, all right. We are ready to jump into episode 7. Yes. God dang, we're flying through these, and I'm so happy about it. All right. Take it away, Steven.
Weebs, you know the drill. Tell all your anime fans, all your fellow weebs, to listen to our show on their favorite podcasting platform. If you want to listen to it early, go to patreon.com/pencil and paper productions. Chuck in a buck so you can do that. And then if we get new content that we're thinking about doing and other things that we're discussing, we'll throw that up there and you can listen to all that early. And then when your other people who aren't paying money are behind, you'd be like, well, I've already heard the latest episode, so and you can just rub it in their face, and then maybe they'll be enticed to go do the same thing. It's only $1. I'm not gonna make you pay an ass ton of money. Just $1. That's all I'm saying. So you can do that. You can go to youtube.com/pencil and paper productions if you want to listen on YouTube. That's a thing. You can see the icon art that I create for that, and you can see it on the page and stuff. And I'm trying to be creative with it. I thought I was pretty creative with the title for this one. And
he was.
If you see it. You see all the work I put into it. I think it's pretty awesome. And then finally, if you just want a central hub to listen to everything, go to pencilpaperproductions.com/inspiredweeaboo and just bookmark it, and you'll always be able to find it.
All right, my little weebs. Until next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.